Hi everyone, my name is Kate. Welcome back to my wondernetting channel. Today we're going to crochet neat look like sweater with embroidery, this cute little ship. This sweater is super easy to crochet, I think, even for beginners. It's a little oversized, which I really like, and it looks super cozy. I chose olive color for this fall. I think it suits me really nice, but for winter you can make it in red color or maybe in blue color or maybe in white color. What I really like about this sweater that it's unisex, so you can make one for yourself and maybe for your boyfriend or husband or dad or grandpa, and it will be a couple look. By the way, I have one more crochet sweater tutorial on my channel. It's off shoulder with roses. You can find it right over there. Of course, you can make this sweater without embroidery. It will be just regular basic sweater, but I think this little cute ship adds some charm, cuteness to this sweater. So before we start, please subscribe to my channel, like this video and leave your comment. What do you think about this sweater? What do you think about this little cute ship? And let's get started. We'll need 5 skeins of yarn, 50 grams, 150 meters per skein. I'm using 100% wool from a wool catcher. It's called Nova. It's super light, fluffy and warm at the same time. I'll leave the link to this yarn in the description below. I'll also be using 8mm crochet hook, scissors, needle and some yarn for embroidery. To start, we need to make a chain of 29. This number can vary depending on how tall you want your sweater to be. In my case, this chain length will sit just below the arm, in the underarm area. But keep in mind that we'll be adding a ribbon to the bottom of the sweater later, so your starting chain shouldn't be too tall. I made a chain of 29 stitches, and starting from the second loop from the hook, we'll crochet using yarn over slip stitches. Yarn over, insert your hook into the second stitch, grab the yarn, pull it out, and then use that same loop to pull through the 2 loops on the hook. We'll be using this stitch throughout the entire sweater. Now continue working this way until the end of the chain. When you reach the end, chain 1, turn your work, and starting from the second loop from the hook, work the same stitch into the front loop only. We'll keep alternating one row in the front loop, one row in the back loop, so the texture will look like it's knitted with needles. Now we're crocheting to the end of the row, and at the very end we'll start making increases. The end with the yarn tail will be the bottom of the sweater, remember that. The top is where we'll be adding increases every second row. To make an increase, chain 3, turn your work, and starting from the second loop from the hook, work yarn over slip stitches. As I mentioned earlier, we'll be alternating rows, one worked in the front loop, the next in the back loop. The rows going down are worked in the back loop, and the rows going up are worked in the front loop. Continue to the end of the row, you'll notice a little step forming at the top. At the end, chain 1, turn your work, and start the next row upward. This time we'll make another increase, and this row will be in the front loop. Once you reach the end, add another increase by chaining 3, turn your work, and crochet down again from the second loop from the hook. This row goes into the back loop. So again, when you crochet up, work in the front loop. When you crochet down, work in the back loop. Continue like this, work one row down, then one more row up. This section will be under the arm, forming the opening for the sleeve. You can make as many steps as you need, depending on how wide you want your sweater to be. I made 3 steps in total. After that, chain 11 stitches or more, depending on your preferred sweater height. Starting from the second loop from the hook, crochet your stitches all the way down. As you can see, this brings us right up to the shoulder. Now we'll work a few rows across the shoulder area before shaping the neckline. Crochet as many rows as you need to reach the width of your shoulder without any increases. At the end of each row, just make chain 1, turn your work and start crocheting yarn over slip stitches from the second loop from the hook. Don't forget to alternate one row in the back loop, the next row in the front loop. I made 11 rows for the shoulder, and here's what it looks like. You can try it on and see if the width fits your shoulder comfortably. Now we'll start shaping the neckline. It's also very simple. Right now I'm at the bottom of the sweater. We are going to crochet up, but this time we'll stop 2 stitches before the end of the row. The width of this part is 21 centimeters, shoulder width is 13 centimeters, the height is 44 centimeters. So now from the bottom I crochet up, leaving 2 stitches unworked at the top. Once I reach that point, I chain 1, turn my work and crochet down in the back loop just like before. When you reach the bottom and go back up, again leave 2 stitches unworked. This way you'll start forming little steps along the neckline edge. Continue making as many steps as needed for your desired neckline depth. If you want a deeper neckline, simply leave 3 or 4 stitches unworked instead of 2. This will make the cut lower. I always try the piece on myself to adjust as I go. In my case, I made 5 steps, counting from the top edge, and next we'll form the same kind of steps but this time going upward to shape the other side of the neckline. Now I'm at the top of the neckline. We'll crochet 1 row down as usual and then 1 full row up. This time we don't skip any stitches at the end. So I'm back at the top and I've completed the row. Now we'll start forming the steps going upward, just like we did earlier. To do this, chain 3 and starting from the second loop from the hook, crochet your yarn over slip stitches all the way down. Then when you go back up, once again chain 3 at the top to form a new step. Continue like this until you've made the same number of steps as on the other side of the neckline. In my case, that's 4 steps up. After that, crochet the same number of shoulder rows without increases, the same amount you did before. For me, that's 11 rows. Then we'll move on to shaping the armhole on the opposite side. I've now crocheted the same number of steps on the other side, plus the same number of shoulder rows, and I've stopped at the bottom of the sweater. Now we'll crochet up, but this time we'll leave 10 stitches unworked at the end. That's the same number we left on the first side. Here are my 10 unworked stitches. I make chain 1, turn my work, and crochet down as usual. When we go back up, we'll again leave 2 unworked stitches at the end, forming steps downward. So we'll create 3 steps in total, exactly the same as on the other side of the sweater. Here's what the finished front piece looks like. Now we'll crochet the back piece, and it's even easier. For the back, crochet everything exactly the same way, but we won't be making a deep neckline. Instead, we'll just make 1 step down where the neckline starts and then continue with straight rows, no decreases. The same number of rows you have for the front neckline section. After that, we'll shape the shoulder, leave 10 stitches unworked and make 3 steps downward just like on the front piece. And that's it, your back panel should now look just like this. Be careful here, the front and back sides look different. The wrong side is more textured and raised, while the right side looks smooth, almost like it was knitted with needles. Now we're going to sew the front and back panels together at the shoulders and then move on to the sleeves. You can join the shoulders any way you like, using a hook or needle. I'll be sewing with a needle, following the direction of the stitch pattern, so the seam blends in nicely. Watch closely how I do it, or feel free to use any joining method you prefer. And here's what our vest-like base look like at this stage. Don't forget, we'll still be adding ribbing at the bottom, so the sweater will become longer, and we'll also add ribbing around the neckline later. Now let's figure out how long to make the sleeves. Starting from the lowest step on the side of your sweater, measure with the tape the desired sleeve length. At the same time, decide how wide you want your ribbing cuff to be. That way you'll know how much to reserve for the ribbing section at the end. For my sleeve, I'll start by chaining 21 stitches. We'll crochet the sleeve the same way at the body using yarn over slip stitches, but this time we'll also form steps upwards, so the sleeve fits nicely. Here, where our starting tail is, that's at the top of the sleeve. Once you reach the top, make an increase, chain 3 and then crochet all the way down. This time, as we go down, we work into the front loop. When we go back up, we'll crochet into the back loop. So go ahead and crochet one row down, then one full row up, then make another increase and repeat the process. After you've worked the last increase, you'll see how we'll be attaching the sleeve to the sweater in the next steps. I've made 3 steps upward, and here's what it looks like so far. Now let me show you how we'll be attaching the sleeves later on. On the main body we also have 3 steps, so the sleeve will fit like puzzle piece. Everything should line up perfectly by shape. Next, we need to crochet 19 straight rows without any increases. This will form the height of the shoulder section. After that, we'll start shaping steps downwards, leaving 2 stitches unworked at the end of each row. I've already finished my 19 rows, and here's how it looks. I've just started the first downward step, I left 2 stitches unworked, then continued crocheting down as usual, and now I'm crocheting back up, leaving 2 unworked stitches. Here's what you should have now. Make sure you stop at the top of your sleeve, not at the bottom. If you count from the very top, you'll have 4 steps going down, just like on the other side. We'll be attaching the lowest step to the side of the sweater, then gradually moving up stitch by stitch, sewing the sleeve to the main body. Again, you can use any joining method you prefer, a crochet hook or a needle. I'll be using a needle, and I highly recommend doing this on the wrong side of your sweater. I simply sew by following the stitch lines I see. Keep in mind, on each step you have 2 vertical stitches going up and then 2 horizontal rows, then again 2 stitches up and 2 rows across. That's how we'll connect each step neatly, one by one, until the sleeve is fully attached. You'll need to make the second sleeve the same way and sew it on too. Here's how mine looks so far. One sleeve already has the ribbing and the other doesn't yet. We'll join the sides once both ribbing are done. You can already see how the shape of the sweater is coming together beautifully. In this type of crochet pattern, the rows are easy to see and even feel by touch, which makes it super convenient for the next steps, the ribbing. To start the ribbing, insert a hook into the first row of the sleeve edge, chain 16 or as many as you want for your rib widths, and starting from the second loop from the hook, work slip stitches all the way down. When you reach the end, make 1 slip stitch into this free loop and then another slip stitch into the next row. That one will feel a bit tighter. Turn your work and starting from the third loop from the hook without chaining, first begin work slip stitches into the back loop all the way up. For the last stitch at the top, work it through both loops. Chain 1, turn your work and starting from the second loop from the hook, work slip stitches down. When you reach the bottom, make a slip stitch into this free loop and then make another slip stitch into the next tighter row. Turn your work again and starting from the third loop from the hook, work all the way up. This is how the ribbing on the sleeves is formed. We'll do the same ribbing at the bottom of the sweater. Insert your hook into these free loops, then into the tighter loops, and continue this pattern until the end. Sew the sides of the sweater from the wrong side using regular slip stitches. First along the side, then the entire sleeve, and finishing with the ribbing. At the very end, make chain 1 and cut the yarn. For the neckline, you can make it long or short. You can also make a long one, fold in half to thicken it. I'll make mine short, so I start by chaining 6 loops. I begin at the shoulder and crochet the ribbing exactly like we did on the sleeves. When I reach the steps along the neckline, remember there are 2 steps down, then 2 rows, then again 2 steps down and 2 rows. Into each stage of the steps and rows, work slip stitches. This way I first go down along the neckline, then back up, and finally join the ribbing to the sweater from the wrong side with slip stitches. And here's the basic sweater we should end up with. At the bottom I added ribbing just like we did on the sleeves, chaining 16 stitches for it. The last step is to steam or block the sweater to shape it nicely. If you prefer, you can wear the sweater plain without any embroidery. I'm going to add a sheep motif. For this I recommend using thicker yarn. I'll use 2 strands together, and from the wrong side thread your needle and leave a longer tail. Hold the yarn at the base, wrap it around the needle, and insert the needle where you want the loop to form. This creates boucle loops. Make as many loops as you like to form the body of your sheep, then secure the yarn on the wrong side, and the woolly body is ready. For the legs and head, I simply make vertical lines with black yarn. Again, a thick yarn works best. I embroider the head the same way directly on the boucle loops. And that's it, your sweater with a little sheep motif is finished. It looks super cozy, perfect for autumn vibes, but you could also make it for winter. Of course, you can experiment with any other embroidery you like. As you can see, the sweater is simple and quick to make, especially using thick yarn and a large hook. I thank you for watching this video, I'm sure you did it well. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments or DM me on my Instagram. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye kitties!